Welcome to the Bare Marriage Podcast. I'm Sheila Ray Gregoire from BareMarriage.com, where we like to talk about healthy, evidence-based biblical advice for your sex life and your marriage. And I'm joined by my daughter, Rebecca Lindenbach.
Hello, hello.
And we are going to talk about how to help our daughters especially develop a healthy view of sexuality as they grow up. And this is going to be an experiment.
Okay.
This podcast.
Which always makes me super comfortable to hear.
Because what I do is I get sent really interesting stuff and I'm like, oh, I really, really want to use that somewhere.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's there's not enough for an entire podcast. I'm not sure what to do with it. And I realized in looking at 3 or 4 different things today, there's a thread. Mm-hmm. There's a thread that runs through them all. I'm gonna believe there's a thread. I'm gonna try to create a story out of these things that's all gonna flow.
And maybe the thread will be the friends that we make along the way.
Yes. This is kind of like what Rebecca and Joanna did with each of our Love and Respect episodes. The docuseries is what is the story we're trying to tell in this episode? And if you haven't seen that docuseries, it released last month, and it did really well. We're very happy with it. We got some great feedback, so do check that out. The link's in the podcast notes.
Yes.
And of course, it was the donations from all of you that made that happen. So thank you to everyone who donated to the Good Fruit Faith Initiative. And thank you especially to our patrons who just are there for us in our Facebook group, who get lots of extra perks. I
think they're going through, they have Joanna's been in 2026, since December 2025. Joanna is now doing a monthly book club with patrons that is exclusive to patrons. We talk so much about how to train critical thought and how to just learn how to think in a way that means that we can see through the crap when we're presented with it. And Joanna is doing a fantastic job of this really fun book club. They went through Animal Farm in February. And then I think she and my husband, Connor, are actually doing an in-depth media analysis of some songs.
Oh, fun.
In March, because
so
she had people
right
reading a 500-page Victorian novel and then Orwell. She's giving y'all a break. Okay? She's going to be listen to music now.
Yes, so that is what's happening in our patron group. And we have a lot of fun there. Yeah. And of course, thank you to our sponsor, the book To Heal or Harm, How Scripture, I always get subtitles wrong, How Scripture Can Be Used Either as Poison or as Medicine for us. So really important book, because so many people, it's if you can't show them a verse that says exactly that, they won't believe you. They need a verse for everything. And, what Dr. Stephen Tracy does is he shows that even from a conservative standpoint, you simply cannot justify using the Bible to condone abuse, to tell abused women they have to stay in abusive marriage, to say that you have to agree with abusive leadership in churches and stay in an abusive church. He does a very good job in a way that people who are in that will understand and will listen. So really appreciate that. Yeah. So check that out in podcast notes too. And now, are you ready for my story?
One more thing.
Yes.
One more thing. I just need to say this. Anyone who's watching on YouTube is going to see I look not great. It's because I'm dealing with eyelid eczema. I can't wear makeup for the next little bit. And so I just wanted to say, if any of you have eczema or eczema, depending on if you're on the East Coast or West Coast, and you have tips on how to get rid of eyelid eczema that's not Aquaphor or Vaseline, because that's not working, let me know. I'd like to not use steroids on my eyes. Yes. So just that. Yeah. Let's do some crowdsourcing. I don't want to be itchy.
Yep. All right. Here's my story. Okay. So, this is a paper. I want to start with a paper. Okay. From a journal. And it is titled, are you ready? Yes. Sexual Passion in Adolescence, Examining Its Transmission Through Mothers.
Okay, that is a title.
That is a title. And what it's really saying, here's what it's looking at. When you take adolescents and you look at them as they grow up, you want them to develop this healthy view of sexuality. And they call that passion, that we have 3 different approaches to passion. And they're what is it that helps kids develop a healthy view of passion? And so here's their 3 different types. This is really important to understand. They talk about first harmonious sexual passion. Okay. That's what we want. They say that this is autonomously regulated and involves feeling positive about one's sexuality and comfortable engaging in sexual activities consistent with one's values. This facilitates positive experiences during sex.
Yeah, that's just healthy sexuality.
Yeah, so that's what we all want. That's what we want in our marriages. That's just what we want. Okay. The key word there is autonomously.
Yeah.
And that means that this is you are the one that regulates your sexuality. It's intrinsic to you.
Oh, so they're not talking about like autonomous regulation, like the nervous system? Like it's not out of panic and you're not like
that's what they're talking about. Yeah, but like it's you. Like you're not
being swept along.
They're not being so there's no pressure on you. There's nothing that's cooling anything down. It's like this is how you are. You are fully present. You are able to be fully present. Fully everything. Okay. Then there's obsessive sexual passion. This is bad. You don't want this. This refers to a controlled motivational state of under-regulated sexual functioning. It can involve how do you say that? Ruminative. No,
ruminative. Don't me. I'm the one who was homeschooled. I learned how to read how to talk from books.
I know, me too.
Ruminative.
And because I get all my news online, like sometimes I'll find there's like some world leader that I totally know absolutely everything about. Like I know their birthday, I know their spouse's name, but I don't realize I'm pronouncing their name wrong for like years. Anyway,
embarrassing.
It is.
Okay. It's either ruminative or ruminative. Let us know in the comments below.
Or intrusive sexual thoughts, an inability to control sexual impulses, and felt pressure to engage in sexual activity.
I think what's interesting is the categorization of obsessive sexual passion as not just how we would see it typically, which is this is someone who's having a lot of sex, but about intrusive or unwanted sexual thoughts.
Yeah.
That's not, that's very, we'll get into that, I know. So I'm not going to say anymore.
Then there's inhibited sexual passion, which refers to a controlled motivational state of over-regulated sexual functioning. It is characterized by a reluctance to pursue one's sexual desires, as well as a hesitancy to act on sexual feelings.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and what their point is that both obsessive and inhibited are actually externally or extrinsically, how do you explain this? Motivated. That's the word. Yeah. So it's not coming from you. It's like you've got all of these different pressures on you. And so inhibitive, like you stay super in control all of the time.
They're extrinsic. Yeah.
And for all of these different reasons. And so you just have a really hard time engaging in sexual activity, even if you want to.
I also want to say, like, I know a lot of people are already going to be like, but they're children. Remember that the harmonious sexual passion is about engaging in sexual activities consistent with one's values. That includes things like making out or kissing, or I'm assuming, because in most sex research that I have read, sex is not about intercourse. It's about the whole physical relationship of feeling like the desire to touch and then to touch in whatever way is consistent with your values. People are not saying that healthy 13-year-olds have uninhibited sex when they want it. That is not what this is saying. This is talking about like the adolescent development as being consistent with your own values, not inhibited because you're afraid of punishment or lacking impulse and doing things that you otherwise wouldn't want to. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about, in essence, harmony with the self. So this does not mean that they're saying healthy 15-year-olds are having a lot of sex.
No.
What it means is that the sexual experiences of healthy teenagers are based on their values and their comfort doing things that they find that they are comfortable with versus external threats, punishments, or a lack of feelings of control around this. Now, sorry, I just wanted to say that clearly.
Yeah, that's very important. The Bible can be weaponized against abuse victims. Many of us have experienced this. And what makes it even more heartbreaking is that when we try to call it out, we're often accused of not believing Scripture. Well, enter the new book, To Heal or Harm by Dr. Stephen Tracy. He outlines all the verses that are weaponized and shows what God really wants instead, how Scripture is meant to heal and comfort, not support abusive power structures. Written from a conservative point of view, it can put pastors, church leaders, and others at ease and make them listen when sometimes they won't listen to us. Dr. Tracy speaks their language, and he wants to call the church back to healing, not abusing. Check out To Heal or Harm. The link is in the podcast notes. Okay, I'm going to summarize stuff that is not earth-shattering.
Great.
That we can probably all guess.
Yes.
Okay? Which is, the more you have harmonious sexual passion, the more likely you are to pass that on to your kids.
Yeah, which makes sense.
So the healthier that you are as an adult, and this is the thread that I want to see go throughout this podcast.
Great.
If this works.
It's good for me to know that ahead of time so I can try to follow it.
So the healthier that you are, the better it is. Now, it also found that mothers tend to communicate with both boys and girls about sex more than fathers do.
Yes.
But they do communicate with their girls more. And often what the communication focuses on how to reduce risk, which, hey, like that's good and decent, but sometimes we can get over. And what they're finding is the more parents are trying to control their kids, the more their kids are likely to develop the obsessive one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So not necessarily inhibited.
Right.
That is interesting.
So the more you try to control your kids, make them shut everything down, make them never do anything, the more likely your kids are to act out in risky ways.
Or to have obsessive, unwanted, intrusive sexual thoughts.
Exactly. So think about all the kids who, you know, are watching porn, can't stop it. Like these things are all related to that kind of thing, because sex isn't something which is an intrinsic part of you that flows out naturally. It is something which feels external to you, that is always attacking you or something like that. So, so the key thing is talk to your kids a lot. And be open with them. And you don't have to be perfect, but talk to them a lot. And if you need help with that, of course, the whole story can help. We have a puberty and sex course for kids. It comes in for both boys and girls. And it comes in the younger version, sort of for 10 to 12 or 13-year-olds, and then for 13 to 15 or 16-year-olds. Yeah. And in the older version, we have a lot of cross-teaching, where some of the videos are the same, because girls and boys need to hear the same
you're
stuff.
Being taught from both the girl and the boy, because first of all, we wanted it to be clear that, like, to the girls, that there are men out here who are also saying things like boys have self-control, and we also wanted boys to learn from women as well. So we wanted to make sure that, like, in the older course, especially when, like, you're past the embarrassment of this stuff, when it's not embarrassing anymore, you're just dealing with this in a social level in the same way, that it's you're modeling hearing from both men and women, because we just thought that was a really big change that we wanted to make to the course, and I'm happy we did.
Yep. Okay. So key findings. All right. Frequency of sexual discussions. Explain the mechanism of transmission of harmonious sexual passion from parent to child. So increased openness is a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. So pretty much it's like, it's not that these parents were healthy sexually and then just by osmosis their children were also healthy. It's that parents who are healthy sexually tend to just be more open to talking to their kids about this stuff.
Yes.
That's kind of that's what I understand from that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Parental control. So this is when you're trying to control your kids. Explain the transmission of obsessive passion. So the goal here is to have more reciprocal conversation. Yeah. So you're not just talking to your kids, you're having an actual conversation.
Yeah.
This is interesting. They found no clear mechanism for inhibited passion, and more research is needed. And Joanna was like, we can do that.
We can do that research.
We have a lot of that. And ultimately, these findings suggest that mothers' sense of autonomy and comfort with their sexuality could help children develop harmonious sexual passion.
Which is great. And I mean, that is common sense, right? We already know this. If we are healthy, it's easier to transmit healthier teachings to our kids. And that's why it's so important to deal with our stuff.
Exactly. Okay. So that was Exhibit A. I want to now do Exhibit B.
Okay.
Somebody sent me this thread on Instagram, and I was blown away by the brilliance of it.
Okay. Great.
Okay. It just raised some thoughts that I've had, but I've never put them into words before like this. And I just thought it was really well done. So I'm going to link to the thread. It's by a woman named Ali Jolie from the United Kingdom. She's a psychologist. She says she is guiding you back to your body. She is a somatic psychologist and supervisor. And so that's where she works from.
Cool.
Okay. So I want to read this. And again, I will put the link in the podcast notes. The orgasm gap conversation often misses something crucial. What happens when your body learns it's a sexual object before you learn you're a sexual being? Okay. Early sexualization of children here. That's what we're talking about. We talk about the orgasm gap like it's about technique, communication, or education. All true, all valid. But it's actually one of the things that happens to a nervous system raised under the male gaze. The real issue, women don't have an orgasm problem. Women have a being sexualized before you could claim your own sexuality problem.
That's interesting, yeah.
The orgasm gap is real, but it's often not a problem with women's bodies. It is what happens when you're sexualized before you can claim your own sexuality. When we talk about sexual trauma, we often focus on event-based trauma, moments of violation that can be pointed to. But so much of sexual trauma is developmental trauma, and developmental trauma is different. Developmental sexual trauma is what happens when objectification occurs while your nervous system is still learning what safety is. It is being sexualized before you understand your sexuality. It is learning your body's value through others' desire. It is absorbing the message that your body exists for consumption before you can claim it as your own. Now, I want to stop right here. I'll read some more in a minute. But Does this sound like anything to you, Becca?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very much like Dana Gresh and all the purity culture stuff for sure.
Yeah, like remember, and we've talked about this before, when we wrote our book, She Deserves Better, we analyzed a lot of the materials that the evangelical church was using to train teen girls.
Yeah.
And one of them was the Secret Keeper Girl curriculum.
Which is for children, 8 to 12.
8 to 12. And it had this raise and praise test where you had to put your arms in the air. And if any belly showed, that was bad because bellies are intoxicating. And then moms were supposed to have a conversation with their daughters to explain what intoxicating was. And it was when men get out of control, like they're drunk or under dental anesthetic.
Yeah.
So imagine being 8 years old, and you probably can imagine this actually.
Yep.
And realizing that men are going to be out of control looking at your belly button when you're still at the age where you kind of like running in the backyard.
You still have
with
Barbies.
Sprinklers. You still have...
You have multiple years of Barbies still in front of you.
Yeah. And how horrifying that is. And I mean, like, one of the questions that I often see reels of on Instagram is like, when was the first time somebody made a comment about your body? Like, how young were you? And most women are like, I was 6, I was 7, I was 8, I was 9. You know, when you realize that even little comments, you know, like,
oh, she's such a flirt.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. Like I hate when we do that. Oh, look at you in that skirt. All the boys are going to be looking at you in that skirt. Like what, when we do that to children, it's very confusing. Yeah. Because kids are not sexual in that way yet.
Nope.
And this is one of the things that we talked about, like remember Shanti Felton's book?
Through a Man's Eyes.
Yeah. How it had that bizarre passage
about the 3-year-old looking at lingerie models and saying that it made his tummy feel funny or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just like,
and it's like, that actually isn't
well, like they were normalizing this idea that a 3-year-old is actually experiencing sexual arousal the same way that an adult would.
She actually said that male sexuality exists.
Even in our infants and toddlers and stuff is the implication. And it's like, that's not normal. Like sexual curiosity, 100% normal.
Kids want to play doctor. Well, it's not a sexual thing. They just are interested in that.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a horrible story
we're not sharing. Yeah, everyone has a story. No, but like this is the thing. Sexual curiosity among kids is totally normal. But attributing sexual desires and arousal that is adult onto children is not normal or healthy. So don't do it.
And attributing also sexual intentions to kids, because that's what we do. Think about remember Josh Howerton when he was talking about the shady little girl in the miniskirt in the church parking lot, and how much of a danger that shady little girl, so a child, posed to an adult man because she was wearing a miniskirt. What that implies is that if a little girl is wearing a miniskirt, she is doing that deliberately to arouse a man. And that's what we often accuse girls of, especially girls who develop early.
And especially girls who are not white. Especially specifically Latina and Black girls in the States. There are so many studies that a Black girl or a Latina girl can wear the exact same dress in school, and she's seen as trying to like get attention in a way that the white girl is not. Yeah. And that is something that needs to be acknowledged, because once you acknowledge the implicit bias, you can start to fight it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's the other side on the Asian thing of the whole schoolgirl fetish on the Asian
there's
thing.
So much. All I'm saying is that people are disgusting.
But the problem is when you attribute intention. So like the thought that, oh, if a girl is dressed like that, she is inviting attention. And when she had nothing, like she wasn't thinking about that at all. She just wanted to look cute.
And there was that other really funny study we talked about a while ago on this podcast, that the men who claim that teenagers and young girls are dressing for attention are far more likely to themselves be trying to get attention than the girls that they claim are trying to get attention. Yeah. So it's projection. They wish people would look at them sexually. Yeah. And so they think everyone wants people to look at them sexually. And so when people say stuff like that, recognize they're talking about themselves, not the kid.
Yeah. I'll put a link to that podcast too. That was interesting. Okay. Let's keep going on this thread. This isn't about remembering specific incidents. It's about your
autonomic.
I can never say things. It's about your autonomic nervous system developing in an environment where sexual visibility often meant being unsafe.
Yeah. makes sense.
Developmental trauma research shows us that when chronic stress occurs during identity formation, it doesn't just create memories, it shapes your nervous system's baseline. This is why by the time you choose to be sexual, your nervous system has years of data suggesting that arousal and danger can arrive together. This isn't dysfunction, it's your body responding intelligently to what it learned. And she goes on to talk about, I'll put a link to the thread. That's, you can
read the whole thing. It's very interesting.
Some of the later part is interesting too. But what she's saying is like, when girls learn that before they even experience any sense of sexual arousal on their own, that they are already objectified and sexualized, then arousal gets paired when it eventually does come or whatever. It all gets paired with danger. And so it's like, then your nervous system has to turn on because you're in danger.
Okay, that's
right?
interesting. Yeah.
And if you think about what we just read about the inhibited sexual desire, it's that your nervous system is overregulated.
Yeah.
Right. So I think this is some of what's going on.
That can make a lot of sense. I also think that there's also
a thread. I did the thread.
There's a thread. Good job. I also think that when we look at the studies, I think that I will say I think that it's a little bit. I'm gonna disagree with her slightly here because she says like it's not just a physical issue, except that other studies have found that it really is. I think that what she's tapped into is the reason why we end up in the physical issue. Yeah. Like she's saying it's because of this. And I don't think it's because of this. I think it's because then when women do have sex, they don't orgasm. Why don't they orgasm? Because they don't get aroused. Why don't they get aroused? Because they don't believe their sexuality matters as much as the man's sexuality in the sexual encounter. Yes. So it's like, she is correct. I also think that she's underemphasizing the importance of female arousal and orgasm and the physical aspects. And I do think that this is much more of an issue of likely what's happening. This is my personal opinion, and I might be wrong. But I think that it makes sense for it being, this is a profound socialization, which primes girls to believe arousal is not for you. Arousal is something that you must run from and that you must control, and that he will experience with your body regardless of what you do. And so you need to make sure that it's done safely. Yeah. And then those girls are less likely to be seeking their own pleasure in a sexual experience, and they're less likely to speak up, or they're more likely to figure, well, I mean, we'll just get this over with. Like, I think that's likely what's going on here. I think it likely plays together, and she'd probably actually agree with that.
Yeah. But. Yeah. I think it also does, though. One of the things that we've been looking at is the etiology of sexual pain disorders, right? Like the fact that women often experience sexual pain, like evangelical women, to a higher degree than the general population. And a lot of it is tied to modesty messages. Like we found that it's tied to obligation sex messages especially too, but it's also tied to modesty messages as teenagers. And I think these modesty messages that we give to, and we don't just give them to teen girls, we give them to 8-year-old girls.
We give them to everyone.
Right? Yeah. The shady little girl in the miniskirt. She's not shady, Josh. She just exists in your presence. Kid. Yeah. And like when we give girls those messages, it's like your body can put yourself in danger. Yeah. And so, and so then your body's like, I don't want to do this because I don't want to be in danger. So I need to shut everything down. Yeah. And I think that's related to some pain disorders and some arousal disorders as well. So it's really multifaceted, right? Because not everyone who got the modesty messages developed sexual pain, but a lot of people do still have problems with arousal because you learn that my arousal isn't important, right? It's his because he's going to be out of control.
In fact, it's important that I don't become aroused because if you want to stop, it's safer to not even start because once a boy gets to a certain point, he has to he's going to keep going, according to Shanti Feldon, who wrote one of the best-selling books for teen girls. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if you want him to stop, it's safest to not even start, is what she said.
And so it's just, this is the whole thing. It's like for a lot of women, it's not even just that like yours isn't as important. It's like, it's actually vital you don't get aroused. Yeah.
And I also, I want to read these stats again because I just think that they are so wild.
From The Great Sex Rescue or The Marriage You Want?
The Marriage You Want.
Both books are blue, so when I see them at the side of my eye, I can't tell which one you grabbed.
So for The Marriage You Want, Joanna and I, as we were talking about the survey, one of the things that we really wanted to zero in on that we didn't zero in on for the Great Sex Rescue survey was what happened on the wedding night.
Right. Yes.
Okay. So I want you to picture these girls who have been sexualized, and you can picture them because you're probably one of them, right? You've been sexualized from the time you're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in the church, told that these men can't help themselves around you, that guys only want one thing, that once you get married, he's going to be desperate for sex. And so how does that affect the honeymoon for couples who wait for the honeymoon?
Yes.
Right?
So among couples who wait for the honeymoon.
Yes. And I thought this was really fascinating. I'm going to read all this. Okay. So in 41% of couples, neither partner brought the other to orgasm before they tried penis and vagina sex. Okay.
Which
so
is it's pretty typical.
Yeah. In 25% of couples, both partners had brought the other to orgasm.
Great.
Okay. And that's actually good.
Yeah.
like I really.
That is an evidence-based approach to sex.
Yeah. And one of the things we really talk about in the Good Girl's Guide to Great Sex is, and the Good Guy's Guide to Great Sex is figure out her arousal and orgasm before you try penis and vagina sex. Please, like, do this in the right order. And that book is now available in Spanish too. So yes. In 24.9% of couples, only the husband had been brought to orgasm by his partner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in 8.5%, only the wife had been. So we're more likely to bring him to orgasm.
We are 3 times more likely.
Yeah, than we are to bring her to orgasm before sex. So what that means is that 50% of men had been brought to orgasm by their spouse before penetrative sex versus 34% of women.
Yeah.
Okay. So who needs more stimulation to reach orgasm? Whose route to orgasm do we need to spend more time learning?
Yeah.
Hers. But who do we prioritize?
Yep.
His. And then when we look at the actual first encounter that involved penis and vagina sex, so the first encounter, in 14%, both partners climaxed. And this is climaxed from any way. It's not like you had to climb. It's just in an encounter.
We didn't ask people what exactly they did.
No, but we did specify. We said, did you climb it from any way in the first encounter that involved it, right?
Yes. So they could have been also doing mixed methods.
Yes.
Kind of thing. But.
Yes. In 11.6%, neither orgasmed. In 1%, only the wife did. But in 73%, only the husband orgasmed. So break that down, and 87.3% of men, but only 15% of women orgasmed the first time in the first encounter that they had with penis and vagina sex.
Which makes complete sense when we know, with everything that we know about female arousal and orgasm. It's like, you kind of started on hard mode, friends. Like, it's like...
But, like, if you think about how that start then affects the rest of your marriage.
Yes.
Because you already started assuming that his orgasm was more important than hers. And that makes him seem more sexual than she is. And then you go on with the honeymoon. You don't want him to feel bad. Maybe it's not quite working for you, but you're not quite sure what to say.
Well, and you're also still like, it's your honeymoon. You just got married. You're still all lovey-dovey, and you're just kind of like in the high of it all. So even if it's not really working, you're still kind of like, it'll be okay.
Yeah. Like, so like this all sets up this situation where girls have been socialized from a very young age in evangelicalism. I mean, in our culture, in our wider culture too, but especially in evangelicalism, that your body is a problem, and it's going because men are out of control. Yeah. And you need to stay in control because you're a girl and you can. Right? And so your sexuality doesn't even belong to you because people were looking at you as a sexual being before you even wanted to be sexual. And they were attributing sexual motives to you. Like, oh, look, she wore a V-neck shirt. She's trying to get the elders in the church to look at her. Yeah. And I still remember when my youngest was in grade 3 or 4, like she was young, and a Sunday school teacher told her she had to stop wearing V-necks because of the men in the church. And Katie was like, I don't want to go to church anymore. Like, that's disgusting. I mean, can you imagine doing that to a child, right? Like if you have to worry about the elders in your church looking at a child, the issue is not the child. Nope. Like seriously, what is going on here? And that is a red flag, by the way. Like if people are starting to tell you that grown men are going to be looking at children, then we need to start asking if this church has pedophiles in it, because that's not okay. So we're set up to have this very inhibited sexual passion, as it talked about, because you're overregulated. You are so in control, because you've had to be your whole life. And so it's very, very difficult to let passion just take over you. Okay.
Do you know how the messages that you heard in high school affect you today? Well, like always, we did a study on it.
Our book, She Deserves Better, is based on a study of 7,000 women to find out how experiences in church as teens affect them today. And if you're still dealing with purity culture, baggage, and garbage, this book is kind of like reparenting you and hearing the stuff that you should have heard then. But especially if you are raising daughters, get a hold of She Deserves Better.
Because really, we all deserve better.
Check it out. The link is in the podcast notes. Okay, so here's another study.
Yeah.
This is going to be a little bit harder to thread the needle, but we're going to make it work.
We're going to make it work.
So this one is from, which journal is it from?
It's from the Journal of Social Psychology and Personality Science.
There you go. And it's called, Do Women Withhold Honest Sexual Communication When They Believe Their Partner's Manhood is Threatened?
Oh, funny.
Because we don't want to threaten anyone's manhood. Okay, and so I'm just going to read the abstract because it's actually
really interesting.
It's really interesting, and it's one of the few abstracts that I think people can understand.
I know so many of them are written.
Well, to be fair, even ours is
rough.
Ours is incomprehensible.
Yes. This is the thing, is you just got to write it with the... Anyway, let's just get into it.
But I thought this was... Okay, so here we go. We explored whether women who perceive that their partner's manhood is precarious, i.e. easily threatened, censor their sexual communication to avoid further threatening their partner's masculinity. We operationalized women's perception of precarious manhood in a variety of ways. In study 1, women who made more money than their partners were twice as likely as those who did not to fake orgasms. In study 2, women's higher perceptions of partners' precarious manhood indirectly predicted faking orgasms more, lower sexual satisfaction, and lower orgasm rates through greater anxiety and less honest communication. In study 3, women who imagined a partner whose masculinity was insecure versus secure were less willing to provide honest sexual communication via anxiety. And together the studies demonstrate a relationship between women's perceptions of partner insecurity, anxiety, sexual communication, and sexual satisfaction.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that first one.
Yeah.
I think so. They had 3 different studies where they're trying to figure out, okay, like if you as a woman feel like the guy that you're with is insecure and anxious, will you tell him a little to the left? Like, that's really what it's saying. Like, will you tell him, hey, I need more foreplay. Hey, this isn't working for me. Hey, can we do some more of this? Hey, this is what I really like. Like, will you do that? Because we know that in order for women to reach orgasm, one of the things she really, really needs to be able to do is to communicate during sex.
Yeah, but it seems like when women think that their partners aren't secure, they experience more anxiety and therefore they don't communicate.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the big ones, that study number 1 was women who made more money than their partners were twice as likely to fake orgasms. That's fascinating. You know, other studies have also shown that women who make more money actually do just as much housework.
Yes.
And in fact, they do more the more money they make because they have to compensate for taking away these guys. Which is so
silly. It's just so silly.
Yeah, but you think about books like Love and Respect, like For Women Only, like His Needs, Her Needs, which talk about how important it is for a man to feel like he's providing. And this is like this need that men have. And Love and Respect even says, like, women, even if you make more money, even if you go out and work, you're not doing it for the same reasons. No. And so you don't feel the same pressure and you don't understand what your husband feels. Right. And so you can never understand that. And so you need to help your husband feel like he's providing. Yeah. Right. Even if you're bringing home most. So like you're the one bringing home the money, but most of the money, but you need to make your husband feel like he's the one.
Exactly.
That is providing for the family. And I mean, yeah, you know what? We should all make each other feel like, I appreciate what you do for our family. Yeah. Because everyone's work contributes to the family, whether you are staying at home with the kids, whether you're working part-time and doing a bigger share of the housework and mental load, whether you're working full-time, whether you're both working full-time, like everybody is contributing to the family, you know?
Yeah, but it doesn't need to be gendered.
And it also doesn't need to only be about paid work. No. Like the person who's doing most of the childcare and housework is also contributing to the family. Like everybody is, right? So let's just acknowledge that we are all providing in whatever way. Like just because he's bringing home money doesn't mean she's not providing, or just because she's bringing home money doesn't mean he's not providing, because somebody's still got to look after the kids and put dinner on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
That's still providing for the family.
Yeah, exactly. Or like if she's bringing in 200,000 and he's bringing in 60,000, well then they're bringing in 260,000. And then the same thing. If he's bringing 200,000, she's bringing 60,000, they're bringing in 260,000.
Well, that's how we've always thought about it in our family. Like we just think about what's our family income, not who brings in what.
Exactly.
Like we just how what's the money that we have to work with. But when we keep teaching that men need to be the providers, then men feel like They need to be the providers. And then when they aren't, they feel like they're not a real man. And one of the things that I hear a lot from men right now is, I want to believe that women are equal. I want to celebrate that. But then I don't know what it means to be a man anymore.
Yeah. And it's like, but dude, it never needed to be that you could only be a man if you were better than women.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so frustrating and sad when you hear this stuff where it's like, I know that's what you were socialized in, but listen to yourself a little bit, right? Figure out what masculinity means outside of just being seen as better.
Yeah. And more important, just take initiative, be responsible. That's what we talk about this in The Marriage You Want. Just read chapters 5 and 6. That is what it means. Yeah. To be a man is just to show up and take initiative. So, so if women make more money, they're twice as likely to fake orgasm. And then in the second study, it's a little bit different. So the more
that she thinks that he feels precarious about his masculinity, so she experiences more anxiety, so she doesn't talk about sex, and so that leads to her not having many orgasms, leads to her not having as good sex. So in essence, she's saying, well, because I can't make him feel like he's not a good lover, therefore I'm going to make sure he's a bad lover, is in essence what ends up happening, because these men can't, she feels that if she were to say anything about it, he'd just totally lose it.
Yeah. And I want to read. I
pulled out for women only.
I think I even remember what page it is because we've quoted this so much. Okay. Is it 103 or 105? Yeah, here we go. 103. All right. Okay. So Shanti Feldon, and For Women Only, is talking about sex here. All right. And she's saying that if responding physically to your husband, so, you can't get aroused.
We don't know what responding physically means.
Yeah. I'm assuming it means.
Context, to me, it sounds like, if you're not able to orgasm while you're having sex. That's right. That's what I
think it sounds like too.
Yes.
Yeah. Let your words be heart words, reassuring, affirming, adoring. Do everything in your power using words and actions your husband understands to keep those pangs of personal rejection from striking the man you love. So if you're not able to respond physically, you still need to reassure him that he's hot, that you're attracted to him, et cetera, et cetera.
You enjoy sex.
And so the main issue here is not, let's figure out why you
aren't responding
physically. And she even says later, if you can't respond physically, go see a therapist. She doesn't say talk to your husband about it. She says deal with the problem yourself, right? She never says just talk to your husband about what you want.
Yeah.
But what she does say is that husbands have such a terrible, terrible need to not feel inadequate.
Yes, you need to adore him.
Yeah, and she has a whole section on how husbands just cannot feel inadequate. When they feel inadequate, they shut down, and so you can't let them feel inadequate. That's one of the big, big things, is don't ever let them feel like they're not masculine or manly. And it's like, when we have that message constantly, how are we ever supposed to speak up for ourselves in the bedroom?
Yeah, no wonder they're having higher rates of faking orgasms, lower sexual satisfaction, and lower orgasm rates. No wonder.
Yeah. All right. Want to turn to Exhibit D now?
Sure.
Okay.
See if we can find the thread again.
Oh yeah, I didn't really connect that one.
Yes.
No, so the thread,
we can make it work.
The connection.
Okay.
Here's the connection: is that once again we're seeing this inhibited drive from women.
Yeah.
Because of all of this stuff that we've been taught in evangelicalism, which is that you're not the sexual one, your husband is, and it's your job to make him feel.
Yes.
Like our main role is not to care for ourselves and our experience and what the couplehood needs. Our main role is to make sure that your husband still feels like he's manly.
Yeah.
And it's just really weird.
I also will say, I feel like most men would feel a lot more manly if their wives were just having a really good time in bed. And all of this kind of holds back. I'm not to be crass, but I'm just kind of wouldn't that make most men be like, yeah, I'm a dude? I don't, and meanwhile, they're just making their women feel like they have to fake it because they can't. It's just sad.
It is very sad. Okay, so this one came through. This is interesting because this is from a woman. Okay, and I'm gonna read the whole thing, but
oh yes,
but she's criticizing me. Okay, and this was an extended conversation in one of our in one of the one of the threads on Facebook a while ago, and she was actually having an extended conversation with one of our patrons back and forth. So thank you, Sarah, for this. And I won't read Sarah's comments, but I'll just read hers. Okay. And she says this. Okay. I'd be careful with whatever comes out today from Bare Marriage. We listen to the podcast weekly for months, and they are taking and removing all power from the men and giving all power to the women around sex, desires for sex, and only when the women want it, never thinking of the man's needs as well. In a marriage, it should be a loving and kind and a serving culture, not one spouse wielding all the power more than the other in certain areas. I stopped listening to them. They need more grace, mercy, and balance to their approach.
Oh, poor girl.
And this is a criticism that we get a lot, which is we're told, oh, so you're letting the woman be the only one who has power in the bedroom. Which is
so funny, because what we're just saying is you should only be having sex when both of you want it. So it's like, so then the woman has all the power. No, you should be having sex when both of you want it.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't want it, figure out why she doesn't want it.
And we've also repeatedly said, and like, I can't count how many times I've said this, that, the problem of low desire is not a problem of women not wanting sex enough. It is a problem that we have done sex wrong. And so, and I'll list them again, 5 things. When women frequently reach orgasm, when there's high marital satisfaction, when you feel emotionally close during sex, when there's no porn use in the marriage, and when there's no sexual dysfunction, desire and frequency tend to take care of themselves. And so when we look at the fact that a woman doesn't want sex and we say, well, then she just needs to have it more because he needs it, we are actually making the problem worse because she's going to feel less and less emotionally connected during sex. And eventually that marriage is likely to become sexless, because the more women have sex that they don't want, the more they develop an aversion to sex, and the more likely it is that within 15 years that marriage is sexless.
Yes.
So like this is not good advice to just tell women to keep having sex.
No, but this is very clearly someone who listened to our podcast for a long time, but just couldn't get over the fact that we kept on saying actually women should enjoy and desire sex and shouldn't be cajoled, because like it's just sad when we see conflicts. What I see is that hit too close to home. Yeah. She cannot believe that there is a marriage where you only have sex whenever she wants it, and they have sex frequently. Yeah. Like, and that's sad, because that's what she's saying, right? Comments like this, they tell on themselves a little bit, where it's like, oh, but honey, like, yeah, it probably is really hard to keep hearing us going on and on about how sex should be good for both of you and shouldn't feel like a chore when you don't have sex that doesn't feel like a chore. When you don't know what that says about your marriage then. If you're like, but if I only ever had sex when I wanted it, I would never want to have sex with him. And that's a hard thing to grapple with. And it's easier to lash out at us. Yep. Like, it is easier to lash out on strangers on the internet than it is to actually deal with the fact that this is putting a really uncomfortable mirror to your own marriage. And that just makes me sad. I know. Too. I know. You know, I saw a really interesting reel. Again, poor girl. I saw a really interesting reel last night. I didn't save it. I should have saved it. But the guy was saying, he was complaining about something similar, which is, I get all of these listeners telling me, why should women get to be the gatekeepers in the bedroom? Yes. And he's like, there's a really simple reason. It's women's bodies who are being entered. Yeah. You know? And I just thought, like, that's amazing that a secular guy will say that, and a Christian guy will say the opposite. Yep. We get so many pastors telling women, it's the husband's penis who needs the sex.
Yeah. like this is the way that you sacrifice, is you sacrifice your body, just as Christ sacrificed his body so that your husband can get the sex. And it's really backwards,
and it's not sexy.
Yeah. And because men are told they're supposed to love their wives as their own bodies. And so you should be caring for your wife's body. And the simple fact is that sex is physically vulnerable for women in a way that it isn't for men.
We know, statistically speaking, men are not caring for women as they do care for their own bodies, because 95 to or higher men are having an orgasm, and that is not the case for women. Yeah. It's like, if men were actually loving their wives as they love their own bodies, women would be having just as many orgasms as men. Yes. And they're not. And so therefore it's just not working.
Yeah. I also want to point out, like, when I say those 5 things, I am not saying that it is necessarily the husband's fault in each of those at all. Like, that isn't, you know, because maybe the reason you don't feel emotionally close during sex is because she has trauma from prior sexual assault. Maybe it's because she grew up in the evangelical culture and so was sexualized when she was 8 because of her belly. And so, you know, she just has this inhibited passion that needs to be worked on and needs to be unpacked. unpacked, but then unpack it with her.
Yes.
And the best way to unpack it with her is to tell her that there isn't obligation. That is actually the key to unlocking women's libidos, is telling them, hey, there is no more obligation. Okay, I just want to do things when you want to do them. And we talk about this a lot in the Great Sex Rescue.
And not in the sad puppy way, for the love of all that is holy.
Yeah.
Don't do the sad, well, I guess like we should do whatever you want, and like don't make yourself the like. I'm sorry, I'm getting angry. Like, it's so frustrating because I see men shoot themselves in the foot, and we get women message be like, my husband's trying, but he's just a sad little puppy dog, and I'm like, figure it out together. Be grown ups. Don't be passive aggressive. Don't be manipulative.
Yes.
But like, this is a thing that can be fixed, but it's not going to be fixed when you see the primary problem of frequency. This is sex is complicated. Sex is relational. And sex waxes and wanes throughout your marriage, and that's normal. You're going to have periods of your life where you're having less sex and periods where you're having a lot of sex. Yeah. And that's normal. And so if you're focused so much on a tally mark beside your bed to make sure that the calendar's getting enough check marks, like you're probably shooting yourself in the foot and making a really weird atmosphere of pressure around sex in your marriage. Yeah. Again, not against if you guys are like, now we schedule it because both of us have like raging ADHD and we'll forget. Like, that's fine. But like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that scheduling is wrong, but but it doesn't have a good faith understanding of what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Creating this weird pressure of like, of course I really want sex all the time, but we'll only have it when you want it.
Yeah. Do you want it yet? Do you want it yet?
Like, just don't, okay?
And I also want to say, if you're the woman who grew up with inhibited sexuality, with this need to control everything, and so sex isn't working and you don't feel any desire, please work on that. Yeah. Like you deserve better than that.
You know how good orgasms are for you in terms of mental health, in terms of like just all sorts of things. Like, it's seeing orgasms as an act of self-care might be beneficial for you. Like, if you're someone who really struggled to see sex as good, seeing it as a way to meet your biological and physiological needs in the same way that like rest and restoration can. I don't know if that mindset might help shift things for you. Seeing it not as something you're doing to perform, but as something that you're doing as self-care. And if you can figure out how an orgasm feels, then it will make sense. Yeah.
And we have an orgasm course that can help you with that. I'll put a link in the podcast notes for that too.
But I think that it's not often talked about in that perspective. But when you look at the benefits of frequent orgasm on just like mental state and stuff like that, like, it is actually quite good for women as well. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, so like, this isn't something that you want to miss out on. So yes, like, men need to work on making sure that she does feel emotionally connected, making sure there's high marital satisfaction, making sure she doesn't feel pressure. But if you're the one with a really low libido because of all of this crap you've been taught, first of all, that's not your fault. Yeah. And second of all, a lot of people have found that reading the Great Sex Rescue, reading She Deserves Better, has really helped them reclaim a lot of the sexuality because they've understood what was taken from them. And then you kind of get mad and you're like, no, you took something from me you didn't have the right to take from me. And so I'm going to find it again.
And then you can have spite orgasms.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's great. You can have those too. That's fine. You can just make a bingo card of all the different kinds of orgasms that you can just collect over the years. Like, I don't care. Have fun. Just, again, as I always say, just don't email me about it. Just don't send it to me in a DM. I love y'all. You need to stop sending me details in DMs. I'm thrilled for you. If you have sent me if you've sent me things like, oh my gosh, we finally did it, and my legs were here, and I'm like, I am so happy for you. Please don't tell me, okay?
Yeah, like, I have to admit, I do like the emails where it's like, I finally had my first orgasm after 17 years. Those are awesome.
General emails, awesome. Send the general testimonials. I just don't need to know what position did it for you. Yeah. I just don't. I'm not going to use it as a testimonial or as a data point because it's not a study. Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to read the next part. I want to read the next part of her email. Can I do that?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, so we read the first bit. This is the second bit. Again, as she's replying.
Is the same commenter?
Yeah, she's replying to our patron. And she says, Sarah, they have said many times that sex should only be when the woman is desiring it and that the man should wait for the wife until then. Not sure if you've spoken with many women, but many women's desire tends to be lower compared to most men, hence all the viral memes. But also, boundless marriages have had counseling with this around marriage. As a loving wife and mom of 4, if I only did things when I really felt like it, my children wouldn't have breakfast most days. They wouldn't receive a great homeschool education. The dishes would be piled up and laundry would be undone. But because I've experienced the loving transformation of Christ, undeserving love in my life, I serve those around me. I have an amazing spouse that is loving and takes care of me and our family's needs and points us to Christ. I think it would be very unloving to only be with him when my desires arose, telling him to eat his desires when I don't desire it. I will say she has helped those with spouses who have been abused around things in the bedroom, but she has most definitely thrown the baby out with the bathwater. I don't suggest someone if a large portion of their ministry I can't stand behind.
Yeah. And again, this is just, to me, this doesn't make me angry or hurt or make me like worried for ourselves. This just makes me sad for her.
Because what's she comparing sex to?
Like cooking for your kids and stuff. Like
doing laundry.
I also I'm sorry, but like a woman saying like, if I didn't do all this, everything would pile up. That doesn't sound like she has a lot of support from her spouse.
Yeah.
Like so many women, especially homeschooling moms, carry so much mental load because what ends up happening, and I am a homeschooling parent. Now, I'm a half-time homeschooling parent because Connor actually does. Yeah. I think right now he does the majority of the school with them. Yeah. But like the amount, when I was doing it all on my own, you have all of that stuff, and then you still have all the normal stay-at-home mom stuff on top of it. And what ends up happening when you're homeschooling is you feel like you have to do all of it during the day. Mm-hmm. But really what should be happening is if your spouse is like coming home after work, that should be when you do a lot of the housework stuff. Yeah. Too. Like, it takes a lot to do this with 4 kids. And she says all this stuff. Look at all the things she's saying. She's saying, like, my kids wouldn't eat. They wouldn't get a homeschool education. The dishes would pile up. The laundry wouldn't get done. What help is she getting? Like, that's what I don't talk like this. Yeah. Like, and that's, and I know that I'm in a marriage where I can actually rely on my husband. And that does not mean that stuff doesn't pile up, right? During the 2 weeks when I was editing the Love and Respect thing, like, Connor did really great, but he was carrying everything on his own and still trying to get grad school done. And so when I was done, I did the deep dishes clean, right? Where it's like all the stuff from the coffee cups and the stuff that didn't get cleaned for 2 days and everything, like, and the deep laundry clean. Sure. But like the house was fine. Like it didn't pile up from normal stuff. Like, and I'm in a marriage where I can say that, and I would never write this. Like, I look at this and she's saying, if I stop for even 1 second, my whole life collapses around me and I'm going to be drowning and it's going to be awful. And so I just have to keep doing it because Jesus died for me. And I'm like, honey, the fact that you're that overwhelmed probably explains a lot of why you don't want sex. Yeah. Like, I just don't, it's so sad because you see women like this and they give you their whole life in a comment and they don't even realize that they're showing that they are in fact a statistic. Yeah. Statistically speaking, women who don't orgasm the first time they have sex are much more likely to have lower orgasm rates than women who do orgasm the first time they have sex have the same rates of high libido. As men do. So she's saying lots of women don't want sex much. Yeah, because as we found, a very small percentage of women who are orgasming the first time they have sex. So like, okay, so statistic number 1. We haven't had pleasurable sex from the get-go, okay? Right. Statistic number 2, women, we know from multiple studies, women who carry the mental load in their marriages tend to internally begin to resent their spouses or see them more as children and another dependent.
There's a great Australia study about that.
Yeah, they see them as a dependent rather than as a partner. And you know what? We are not sexually attracted to dependents. And so sex libido decreases. Yeah. Even among women who still have solo desire. Right. Didactic desire decreases. Yeah. Right? That's what they found.
Yeah. So solo desire is like just sort of an inherent desire for sex. Like,
like you might still be aroused.
A lot. You're
still getting aroused.
But you don't want sex with him.
Yeah, it's like, but you like, have a hard time motivating yourself. It's not even like, I don't want to have sex with you. It's just, I have a hard time. You don't feel the felt desire for sex with him. Yeah. Because why not? He's another thing on your to-do list. Yeah. And so, once again, statistic number 2. Yeah. And then,
and she's treating it like a to-do list, right? Like she's listing it with all the other awful chores that she has to do.
Yes. And then I was going to say, and now you get into our statistics of obligation sex sex and seeing that it's a woman's duty because men need sex more than women do. And again, lower libido rates, lower orgasm rates, lower sexual satisfaction just in general. Yeah. And like this woman is a walking statistic and she doesn't see it. And that's sad because it's like there are so many things that you could change. You could fix the mental load issues. Can I just come back to this homeschooling thing just for a second? Okay. So she says if she doesn't do the dishes, they pile up, right? So presumably she's doing the dishes after breakfast and lunch. And she's trying to give 4 kids a great homeschool education at the same time and getting all the stuff done during the day. And I just want to say, like, when I homeschooled, I didn't do that stuff during the day. That's exactly what I was trying to say. But I want to stress it because I know there's a lot of homeschooling parents who listen to us. Caring for a home and doing all of the housework is a really, really big job. And if you are trying to do that while you are also trying to homeschool different age groups, you are not going to be giving your kids like... Unless you have quadruplets, that's 4 different educations right there. Yeah, like something's going to be giving. And so, you know, we always saved the big cleans for Saturdays when we were home. Like we still did that, right? Like you do one big load of dishes at the end of the day. And the dishes pile up throughout the day and the kitchen looks gross. Who cares? It's going to get cleaned at the end of the day. Right before I'm making dinner, I clean everything up. Yeah. Like that's still what I do actually is everything's a mess all during the day. And then right before dinner, I clean it all up because during the day I'm working. But something has to give. And what ends up giving is the woman's mental health, the woman's energy, her rest, her libido, because that's not a priority because women aren't sexual, right? Yeah. As she's saying. But I just want to say too, like, don't let, like, if you are going to homeschool, don't let your kids be the thing that gives. Don't let their education be the thing that gives. Yeah. But it sounds like for this woman, what's giving is her. Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like from her account, she's doing a great job and I have no reason not to doubt her account, right? Yeah. But what we often see is then, what's giving is the woman and her mental reserves and her energy and her sense of just vivacity for life. Look, she's talking about everything in her life being a chore and that she's only doing because Christ died for her. Like that shouldn't be our outlook to parenting and our children and being a home educator and all these things. If you're going to do it, like, and I don't say that to condemn. I say that in the, oh, poor sweetie kind of way. Like I'm sad this woman's not listening to us anymore because I hope that maybe I'm worried that it's because she's put up a block in her mind. And I'm worried that it's because she's not willing to accept the fact that she has been second tier and second fiddle in her own marriage. Yeah. Because I'm not saying that it was done on purpose. I'm not saying this is some chauvinistic, pig-headed dude. But this just happens because of the basics in our culture and the baselines that we're raised with. Like we were talking about the thread. You were raised by a mother who did not have harmonious sexuality, right? And so sex wasn't something that was seen as inherently feminine. It was seen as something that masculine men did to feminine women, right? Right. That's typically what the and that's what she is. So she's got these 4 kids and she's passing on. Well, and then the sexual messages. I'm talking about this poor woman, right? Yeah. Like women. Like if we're following the statistics that she's showing us in her comment, right? And then you're raised to believe that women need to make sure that men get what they need, which is her entire focus here, is that, well, men need sex. And like, well, why do men need sex? Like, women also need sex. So why are we not feeling like we need sex? And then we didn't have necessarily the most positive experiences with sex because I'm sorry, but no one whose primary experience with sex is that it's orgasmic and really, really good for you is like, well, I have to make my kids oatmeal, so I guess I'll have sex. Yeah. Like that's just not the way that is talked about. A lot of people start out having great sex and then like stuff happens and they're like, I don't know how to get back to that. I think the spark has disappeared and so I just have to keep having it anyway. That's a different conversation than, well, I make oatmeal, might as well make whoopee. Like that's a different conversation. And so like when you look at this woman, like this is who we're talking about here. And what are your kids going to learn? What's your daughter going to learn about what her role is in a marriage, about her body? And just life. This is just a really sad way of seeing life, that the whole point is because of Christ's undeserving love in my life. So I didn't deserve Christ's love, but I have it. And so now I'm going to serve my family. Like, how about just Jesus came to earth to show us how to love and to show us how to have life abundantly, and we get to enjoy things. I don't know. It's like there's totally a place for the whole like undeserved love of Christ. Absolutely. Yeah. It makes me sad when I see people talking about that in terms of like caring for their children or like their marriage, and I'm like, but those are the refuges. Like those are the good parts. Like,
Yeah.
that's like, that's the part that's supposed to fill you back up.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Like, and if it's not, let's figure out why, because you deserve to enjoy your kids.
Yeah.
You deserve to enjoy your spouse. You deserve to enjoy your marriage. No one needs to enjoy dishes. Yeah, sure. Make the dishes the undeserved love of Christ. No one needs to like folding laundry. But like your kids, your husband, your relationships, that should be the stuff that fills you back up. That shouldn't be the stuff that you're having to remind yourself, well, Jesus died on the cross for me, and so I'm going to die to myself here.
Yeah.
And that's just sad. And so I hope that she hate listens to us.
Yeah.
I hope that this woman continues to listen. I hope that she hasn't just shut off her heart. I hope that this isn't a situation of her just not being willing to like accept that what we are saying is true, and that does actually mean she has to look at her marriage and look at the patterns that they're in and how they can get out of them. Because it sounds like this might also be a woman who, if they did get out of them, they could have so much more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And that's just what we want, is we just want people to have more. Like you think about, okay, harmonious desire versus inhibited desire. Because I think that's what we're talking about more is inhibited desire here, where you're just so overly regulated. You are so in control. Yeah. You know, you're not present in your body. You're not able to just go with the moment.
And I also want to say, in control doesn't mean that you're doing things well. I think a lot of people think that in control, they think anal retentive. Yeah. I mean, in control is in you feel like everything is out of control. So your desire is to be to make the chaos go down, to clear your brain, to have a second, like when you feel like everything's kind of slipping out, and so you're trying to grab it. Yeah. Right. So it's not. We're not talking about people who like have everything all together when we talk about being in control. We're talking about actually, ironically, the feeling that it's not under control.
Yeah. And so your job all the time is to try to manage yourself so that you never lose, like so that you are always able to keep everything together. Yeah. And sexuality doesn't really flow well from that. And
what if, and the question I would ask people who are saying like, yeah, but like, I don't really know if that is true, is, but what if we're right? What if we're right and there are tons and tons of marriages out there where it doesn't actually matter who has the higher libido, because they both just want sex. Yeah. And so if she doesn't want sex one night, it's not a big deal. And if he doesn't want sex one night, it's not a big deal, because yes, actually it does happen where sometimes she's like, ooh, let's go. And he's like, I'm just stressed from work. I would much rather not. I'm like, okay, like that actually happens in marriages too. What if we are telling the truth and that does happen? What if the studies are not lying and that this is not 80% of marriages? It's really not. What if there are marriages out there where, you know, sex is just not an area of contention because it's always been very mutual and it's always been pleasurable? And what if there are marriages out there where it wasn't? And now it is. But they
got there.
And that could be you. What if there are marriages where you don't always have to feel like if you stopped for 1 second, your whole life would fall apart? And what if you could be in a marriage where you didn't have to worry so much about what his needs were because you were actually secure and safe enough to be like, well, what about my needs? And you can put your needs first and his needs first and not see them as in conflict. Yeah. Like, what if that's all possible?
Yeah.
Like, what if that actually is possible and we're not lying and we're not just married to browbeaten husbands who are whipped? And like, what if this actually is how a lot of people function, and you can too?
Amen. And that's what we want for you. So as we're wrapping up, you know what I want to do, and I've been wanting to do this for a long time, is like write kind of a flow chart of like, what do you need from us? Okay, because we don't know what you need from us because we have so many resources. And so a lot of you are like, yeah, but I want help, but I don't know where to go. Okay, so let's start with the beginning. If you have never experienced an orgasm, all right, if you don't know how sex works, get the Good Girl's Guide to Great Sex and the Good Guy's Guide to Great Sex and get the orgasm course.
Yep.
Okay, just check those things out. Those will teach you everything about what sex is supposed to be. Now, maybe part of the reason that you haven't experienced an orgasm is because the whole idea of sex kind of skeeves you out, and because it's always felt kind of skeevy to you. And that's when you really need to read The Great Sex Rescue, and maybe even She Deserves Better. Okay, so if you grew up as a teenager in purity culture and you were made to feel like your body was a problem, and you were made to, you believed all the obligation sex messages, those books are really going to help. All right. Now, what if you're just simply, you know, you have orgasms maybe sometimes, so you know it's possible.
Or like you used to, but it just doesn't happen anymore.
But you've also got like a bunch of kids and you're exhausted and you're trying to get the dishes and the laundry under control. You probably need the marriage you want. Okay? Yeah. Because what you might need is to figure out how we can do our marriage better so that I can enjoy it. So that I can enjoy my kids and enjoy my husband and get this better. Okay? Or what if like life is just okay, but you've just found that spark is gone and you can't figure out why. But orgasm, you can get there. Maybe not all the time, but like it is possible. That's when you need the Boost Your Libido course. Mm-hmm. All right. So we're going to put links to all of those things. I don't know where you're at, but I hope that covers everybody. And maybe we can just help you from a variety of perspectives. But I really want you to take what Rebecca said seriously. Okay. What if we're not lying? Like, what if this is actually possible, where sex isn't a bone of contention in your marriage, where both of you like want it and enjoy it when it happens, but you're also not, if it doesn't happen, you're also not panicking.
Also, like, just a thing that I think people don't realize too is, what if you could get to a point where sex, yeah, you can communicate about sex, but sex isn't even really much of a discussion in your marriage because it just naturally happens. Yeah. Because that's what we've really looked at for a lot of the people who say they have shared libidos, is that like,
yeah, it's not like they each want sex every 87 hours. No. It's like, it just doesn't register.
It's not a point of contention. It's not really a big deal because it just happens.
Yeah. You know, and wouldn't that be lovely? Yeah. If it doesn't happen because I know Christ died for me. And so I need to.
Poor sweetheart. Like genuinely poor sweetheart. Like sorry, that sounds patronizing. I don't mean it in a patronizing way. I mean it in the Canadian way. Yeah. Not in the Southern way. Yeah. Yes. Sorry. In Canada, poor sweetheart is genuine.
Yeah. So there you go. So on that note, remember to check out our sponsor for this podcast. Thank you very much to the book To Heal or Harm. And let's just end spiritual abuse in the church. There is simply no room for it. There is no room for interpretations of the Bible that keep people in abusive situations. So check out, that link is in the podcast notes. The link to our courses and our books are in the podcast notes. The link to the studies that we mentioned are in the podcast notes.
When in doubt, go to the podcast notes.
Go to the podcast notes. And thank you for joining us. Remember to subscribe, hit that like button, and just feed the algorithm.
Please.
Let others
know. The algorithm is hungry.
Yes, the algorithm is hungry.
Please feed it.
Thanks very much. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.